Hey, welcome back. Thank you for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. I hope the channel is useful and inspiring. You're probably watching because you agree adventure is absolutely necessary. The family you're going to meet today could not agree more. You're going to meet Peter, Pete, Carol, Caroline, and Dan. Now together here on YouTube, and go check them out. They are known as the Epic Family Road Trip, but I just have to refer to them as the Epic Family. They are guided by their care principle, and that means that wherever they go, they strive to leave it just a bit better than they found it. We were able to catch up recently to get the behind the scenes story about their adventures and how they make it all work. It is my absolute privilege to share that with you today, so sit back and enjoy the ride.
I'm Peter.
I'm Carol.
Caroline, you're next.
Oh, I am.
Hi, I'm Peter.
I'm Carol. I'm Caroline.
I'm Pete.
I'm Dan.
Daniel was saying I'm Peter Van Strelen from the Epic Family Road Trip. We're actually a family that's been traveling around for 4 years. We do a YouTube channel of the same name, Epic Family Road Trip. So my name is Peter, like I said.
My name is Caroline.
I'm Pete Jr.
I'm Mom, Carol.
And I'm Dan.
In November, it'll be 4 years where we decided to just hit the road together. You know, we dreamed about doing this for a long time. We actually started out thinking about doing a 3-month road trip. That was a dream that we had written down, put on a sticky note, hung on the wall, and revisited for years. And so we bought a motorhome, we hitched up our Jeep to the back, and we just hit the road. And 3 months came and went, and it went too fast. We still had so much to see. We asked the kids if they wanted to keep going. They said yes, there's a lot more adventure ahead, so we just carried on. And so the Epic Family Road Trip just kind of came out of that.
It was actually kind of our whole family was talking about doing something. And so we were all really, really excited. We all wanted to do something different. We always knew we wanted to do something epic as a family, but we didn't know exactly what that would be. And then here we are now, living on the road, and that's perfect. Like, this is exactly what we want to be doing. And it's so exciting because there's so much world to see, and we get to do it as a family. And on the road, you go so far because you're with your vehicle and you can go off-road and be together. So it's never boring. There's never a dull moment. So
I love it because I get always so emotional because I get to have time with my children. I get to have those conversations where I normally probably wouldn't have. And the fact that my kids, they love me, but they also like me. And I get to experience things with them. We get to work as a team together. If I'm scared, you know, they encourage me, and sometimes I'm encouraging them. And I just think it's such a blessing this time. And I know it's a short window that I get, so I'm just soaking it in and enjoying it.
We learned along the way to travel with clear values so that it's not just about travel. We're going on a mission, and that helps you chart a course. So we left with 3 clear values. One, work. We knew we had to work hard to build a YouTube channel, to get through school, on the road, and all that stuff. A work ethic is a great thing. The second one was play. We knew that a family that plays together typically stays together, and we're good at that, surfing and mountain biking and climbing and having fun. And the last one was care, and that was something I used in business. It's an acronym: create a remarkable experience. We plan to, as we travel, we plan to create a remarkable experience for people by leaving everyone we meet and the places we visit a little better than we found them. And having that mission, having that clear value, those opportunities have presented themselves all over the world. And so it gives us focus, and you know, Walt Disney said, when values are clear, decision making is easy, and that's been our experience. Everything from saving 120 whales off a beach in New Zealand, to our experiences in Haiti, to all kinds of experiences around the world. So for those families that are thinking about doing something like this, just take the time as a family to clarify what's important to you, and then that gives you a mission.
I think the biggest struggle as a family is having problems together. Something we've learned over the past 4 years of being together in tight places and in hard situations is how to deal with things really quickly. So arguments between siblings is a question we get asked a lot, and it's been less since we've begun traveling. Like, that doesn't mean there's never arguments, but they're so much shorter, because we realized traveling and seeing so much in the world and seeing real struggles of people in different countries around the world, that we realized our little arguments as siblings are so small, and we can deal with them a lot quicker. And in the family, we've also done the same thing.
Communication.
Yeah, communication. In such a small place, you can't run off to your own little space and think about something. You deal with it straight up and you talk.
With the arguments being shorter, is like when we're in a situation, you might be like, oh, you got us into this, but normally, like, you could go run away, slam a door, and be all angry and think about it. But here we have to discuss it, like Peter was saying, and we have to get over it, because we most likely are going to be in a situation where we need to get through it, and you can't have a grudge against one guy. You need to work together as a family and as a team to get through it.
Pete has type 1, and he was diagnosed on our trip. And we've been proving that you can keep on going with that, and he has been proving.
Yeah. Even though it's not easy, type 1 diabetes, you have to manage your blood sugar all the time. It was a tough diagnosis on our first trip we were in California when he started getting ill, and but he's been proven. Since then, he's gone all over the world and learned how to manage it, and we've had some crazy stories and experiences with all that. So that's, I think that's something he is sharing with other families. Don't let things that happen to you hold you back. You can still be brave and get out there and adventure and learn and grow. Someone described it as it's like we cook in this crock pot. It's like a pressure cooker, and either one thing's going to happen or the other. Either the lid's going to blow off, or it's going to boil into a beautiful meal, and that's kind of what we're always working towards. So. Yeah, we're really slow travelers. We might speed it up a bit because we're realizing how big the world is and how little time we have to.
Yeah, I think we need to start going a little bit faster now.
Yeah, like 6 months in New Zealand, you get to become by the end you're a Kiwi, right? There's most of them are saying you've seen more of the country than us. So what we love about the slow travel concept, though, is we're not just dropping in, doing a quick tourist spot and heading on. We're trying to stay in a place until we feel comfortable there, until we feel like we belong. We've learned the culture enough that it's kind of one of our places to live. It's our second home type of thing, even in third world countries. So that's kind of the concept behind it. We want to experience the country, the culture, the people, make some friends along the way. Driving on the left side of the road is easy now. We did that long enough that it became second nature, that type of thing.
I think just being open, like, to the daily situations that we've been thrown into, being part of like what we're doing now, sort of helps us just, I guess, mature quicker, because we get to meet all these new people. We're not just doing we're not going to school talking to the same group. We're meeting to people like from different countries, different cultures and stuff, and it really just, I don't know, helps you see that the world's a lot bigger than it might seem. But
yeah, like when we started, I was 14 years old, and you go from talking just about kid things or teenager things, which are just most of the time worthless outside of the minute that you are talking, to you're talking with adults about real world things that are happening in the moment or happening all around you. And rather than being treated as a kid or as something, you're treated as an equal, as an adult. And it's helped me personally grow a lot, have the confidence to do so much more, and do my best everywhere I am. So.
Could have something to do as well that we've tried to involve the kids as adults from an early age in terms of planning and decision making. And it's not just mom and dad ramming an idea down. In fact, Caroline's idea to go to New Zealand. So we said, that's great, but I know nothing about New Zealand. Why don't you go do the research, put together a PowerPoint, and sell the family on the idea?
She had to sell it to us.
So she did, and she put together a multi-slide PowerPoint. We sat down and we watched it. We learned all the research she had done, and in the end, we ended up going.
And we crunched the numbers together. We're very open, about how much things are going to cost. I think it's good that the kids understand that, and a little bit of the sacrifice that it's going to take. I don't know.
Along
I think
with
that's
the rewards.
Yeah,
that
the
it brings,
reward is huge. But
so I think Daniel said it right. They matured a little quicker than some of their friends back home, who are still playing games in the basement.
Yeah, Caroline kind of we were driving, we saw a Jeep with a tent on it. We're like, what is that? And that kind of like brought us into the whole overlanding world. And it actually saved us money being somewhere for 6 months instead of renting, for 5 people. This way we could take all of our bikes, all of our backpacks, our surfboards, wetsuits, and it was our own home and our own things.
You mean when we shipped?
Yeah, when we shipped, it saved us a lot of money compared to renting.
We did the math on a rental, and if you're staying for more than a month, sometimes it's just 2 months. It's going to cost more than shipping. So that's a question we get a lot. So, but like Carol was saying, we shipped all our gear, our surfboards, bikes, kitchen utensils, everything. They say if you think adventure is dangerous, you should try routine. It can be really bad for you because you just get stuck in everyday life. No, it's nerve-wracking at first. It's something we didn't know. We didn't know what to expect. We weren't that comfortable. We've made a lot of progress over the last 4 years in terms of all these things. We did have a spirit of adventure. We wanted to just go and experience things, but it's a little bit scary. We're not the world's best planners. We love the fact that it's an adventure, and sometimes we don't know what's around the next corner. We don't know what's coming up tomorrow. We love a place, we stay an extra week, The weather's rolling in, we drive a couple hours and find better weather. So it's every day's an adventure. I often say to people, we have a tiny house, but we have a huge backyard. Our backyard is the Pacific Ocean sometimes, or the Atlantic, or a mountain range in Alaska, or maybe our backyard's the Grand Canyon, but it's just, you sacrifice something to get access to something else. So we've learned to make sacrifices.
Like how we split chores, sort of, especially being in such a big family when we're traveling, you can sort of see everyone's skill sets come out. So Mom might be the best cast iron cooker, so she gets her stuff when we pull up ready for cooking. Caroline is our filmer for YouTube, so she gets her batteries going, and me and Peter get the camp set up. So just going along, you sort of get to see what everyone's good at and sort of work around that. So everyone's got their own job depending on what their skill set is.
And yours is start the fire.
Yeah.
Coffee?
Coffee in the morning, so that the kids
boys
become
are pretty
coffee connoisseurs.
Yeah.
Fresh ground beans, all hand ground. They know the proper grind. It's a great way to start the day. And often we're waking up and opening the tent window and just going, "Are you serious? Are we actually camped at the edge of a 2,000 foot cliff, or the waves are rolling right in?" So every day is exciting and new.
Normally, when we come to a stop, though, like the kids take over, and us parents, we go for a walk, and the boys jump up, open up the tents, and Caroline's opening up the kitchen. They're tidying up all their bags. Everything's kind of color coded. So like I'm red, Caroline's orange. So we don't mix our towels and stuff like that, or toothbrushes. We keep it really simple. Everyone knows what color it is. So if I'm looking for, say, Pete's bag, I know that one is gray. So I'm obsessed with toilets and sanitary things. It is crazy that being on the road for the last 4 years, we have never been sick. When we were in the house, we were kind of like, normal, kind of always sick, the allergies or a cold, or someone came down with the flu. And so I think you don't have to always be washing your hands with chemicals and things like that. I think nature just helps you out that way and gives you a strong immune system. And
we set up a privacy tent that just pops up, so we'll have our sleeping tents and everything, but that's a privacy room. And there's all kinds of neat things on the market. We're constantly
looking at new toilets.
It's not like a luxury sitting on the throne at home, but it
although
works.
It is, because sometimes we don't use the tent and you're just sitting out there and you're looking at the Valley of the Gods and it's just gorgeous. You have the prettiest bathroom ever.
Yeah. We're typically doing a lot of sports, so we travel, depending on our configuration, with 5 mountain bikes often. That's why we had to go with so much upgrades to the suspension, because we're constantly carrying weight. There might be surfboards on top. There's snowboards tucked into, the bindings come off and they're slid in, so we can carry snowboards, because we never know where we're going to be. We've snowboarded in July at the top of Mount Hood and surfed 2 days earlier, we carry hiking gear, because we're near the Grand Canyon. We said maybe they have a spot available. We didn't book ahead. They said, yeah, we have one tomorrow. We're like, all right, we're going for 3 days into the Grand Canyon. Yes, there are times as parents we're sitting there and we're in such an unusual situation and we are thinking back to our old life, and we're thinking about all our friends and what's normal and what societal norms are, and we're like, yeah, it's so different that you have sometimes these thoughts, but then you wake up in the morning and you look at what you're doing, and it vanishes very quickly. But one situation I want to tell you about, we were in Haiti. We had gone down to bring solar lights to a village that has never had electricity. Very, very poor village. We're living amongst people, and because there's no electricity, there's no lights, and there's no air conditioning. It's extremely hot during the day and just as bad at night. We were living there for a while, teaching the families how these solar panels work. And the kids were sleeping up on the roof of this concrete building because that's the only place that had a bit of a breeze under mosquito nets. And around 3 o'clock in the morning, we're awakened by the noise, what sounded like machetes hitting the gate of the place, the little school ground we were in. And all day we'd watch these young men walking up and down the streets with machetes in the morning, going to cut sugar cane, and then coming back, swinging their machetes. And so because there's no street lights, there's nothing, we just heard the noise, and then the sound of thousands of voices clamoring in the night and yelling, and a bonfire would break up out in the distance, and then it ended up being 3,000 people just in the streets, and all we could see was shifting shadows because there's no lights. And so we thought for a little minute there we were under attack. You know, you all of a sudden have these visions of movies you've seen as they break down the gates and come in, and for a split second there I had because that was, kids were 3 years younger or 2 years younger, and I was like, man, I shouldn't have brought my kids here, this is terrible, what's going to happen. But someone we were with were able to connect their cell phone through Dominican Republic and get a signal and find out that what had happened is the government's really weird there. When they have an election, they don't necessarily leave power, they stay there. They say, you voted that guy, but I'm not leaving. But anyway, somehow during the night, the government that had been voted out finally left, and so the people came out to celebrate. And so one person's celebration is another guy's riot. So we thought it was a riot, but thankfully we saw they were partying, and
that's how they get the attention, all the noise to the other villages.
They were signaling the other villages by banging on the wells and the trying to make as much noise as possible. So all's well that ends well. Everyone went back to bed except me and Carol. We sat on the porches with a kitchen knife in our hands, still waiting. The attack never came. But it was important. In the morning, we went right down into the village. They say if you get bucked off a horse, get right back on. And for us, it was important to just walk down and meet the people. Most of the partiers were sound asleep with a bottle of rum beside them, but there were kids in the streets, and we started playing games and having fun, and it just those experiences we'll never forget. Often when things go wrong and we say, what are we doing here, those situations end up being the ones we talk about, we remember and reminisce about later on. And we're more comfortable going into third world countries now because the reality is that people wouldn't attack us. They knew we were there to help. We just were coming from our closed world that we lived in before. Now we're much more comfortable. The people in what they told us is if someone was trying to harm us, the village would have gathered to save us because they loved us being there, and they're so thankful for us. And so it turned out to be just a wonderful, wonderful experience all around.
What got you giggling, Dan?
What?
Dan giggling.
They're probably most kids are doing that because they're probably bored, right?
Well, I'm a lot more interested in traveling.
Yeah. I think we're like the kids. I'm pretty impressed with they're focusing on this time right now, learning new skills, climbing mountains, learning how to surf, and that time will come, and they'll know it. And we'll know it, and that'll be a new chapter in our traveling lives,
One thing's for sure, they meet a lot of awesome people, made so many friends. We were out west, we were surfing in Oceanside, California, and then we bumped into some friends with kids their age, and they're incredibly good surfers, and we went up, spent a couple of weeks surfing with them, and now they're friends for life, and they keep in touch, and so in terms of social life and having friends, they've expanded their circle of friends rather than lost them. We came here to meet our YouTube friends. We love meeting people on the other side of the screen when we post, but we also came to kind of figure that out. We've outgrown the Jeep situation. The kids are just way too tall to be squished in the back there. So we were looking at a couple of options. We were saying we could have a second vehicle that the kids can drive, and that will give them their autonomy and freedom, but also spread us out a bit in terms of room, leg room. And so I really went and looked at, me and Carol and the kids at a lot of different options, but we've been listening to them, and 4 years ago they met folks that are doing this adventure biking thing. So as parents, we're a little apprehensive because it's a lot more dangerous, but it does solve a lot of the issues, and it does give a lot of flexibility, and we can kind of form a bit of a convoy. So I could see, asking what's next, I could see us traveling through Argentina as a Jeep and 3 bikes at some point. That would be cool. I would get my license. Carol wants to get hers so that we can rotate and switch off. But they said, we were talking to the experts who have been around the world on bikes, and they said on off-road, the bikes will be an hour ahead of the Jeep. And on the highway, you typically you go the same speed, but it sounds fun, it sounds adventurous. We thought the kids were going to get less and less adventurous. We thought maybe the motorhome would be a start, and then they'd want a big luxury motorhome and then a bigger one. They went exactly the opposite. When they got into the tents, they said, man, we're so surrounded by nature. We're on a rooftop tent. We're driving in a Jeep. Now they're even going beyond that. So I always joke, we went from a huge house to a small RV to an even smaller Jeep. Now they're talking about a bike. I mean, what's next, a skateboard? The first 2 years, I guess, or 1.5 years at least, we just filmed some stuff, but we didn't post anything. We didn't really hit social media. We just had a trip. We just had endless hours together as a family. But I think Caroline and the kids said, hey, we should actually compile these into videos and start posting them online. And out of that came our YouTube channel.
We are on YouTube and on Instagram, where we document our travels at the Epic Family Road Trip, and we come up with new videos every week.